Hey, Kelly, we're going live any second now. Who do you want to do a shout out to?
I have two shout outs. I want
Yeah.
to shout out to Kim Lee Smith, who is just the most amazing human on the planet, and I'm so supportive. And I want to shout out to my wonderful husband, who is all about Kelly.
Kimley and husband, here we go. Hey guys, today we have another amazing guest, Kelly Thiel. Kelly is an author, speaker, voice actress, and founder of Be Glorious, a platform that helps people have honest conversations with themselves. Kelly is a survivor of the NXIVM cult. We're going to talk about that a lot, or maybe just a little. And she shares the story of how she broke free from the manipulation and reclaimed her power and spirituality. She has written a book called Unapologetically Glorious. Love that name, which is a guide for anyone who wants to be their own guru and live on their own terms. Kelly, you are amazing. I am so glad that you are here.
I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, it's awesome. I can't wait to meet your cat, by the way. So,
well, usually she makes an appearance on every show, so we'll see if she decides to do it. She heard me talking bad about her, so
awesome. Let's jump right in. Let's talk about some people haven't heard of NXIVM and what kind of cult it is, and so we'll talk about that. By the way, for people who try and look it up, it's NXIVM, NXIVM. But let's talk about that for a little bit. Let's talk about what inspired you to write your book and share your story with the world. Let's start right there. How did you do that?
So I was a member of NXIVM, the cult that's been all over the news and was run by Keith Raniere. I managed to get myself out of there after about 2 years, after it all exploded, and they were branding the sex slaves and all of that. And, I went through this period of time where I was just lost, completely lost. I had lost this amazing community of people, and I had to find myself again. And I didn't trust myself at all. And so I went on this journey of trying to find my own self again, to finding deep down inside where that trust was that I had given away.
Gotcha. Was the trust that you had lost, the self of you that you had lost, was that because of the cult, or how did that happen?
Well, when you are part of an organization that ends up being a cult, you start to be indoctrinated into their way of thinking, right? So you start to stop thinking for yourself. Your critical thinking skills become, you start to lose those. And so you start to believe what they have to say. And then you stop listening to your own intuition. And when you stop doing that, you lose all of the trust in yourself. Gotcha. And so that's what happened to me when I say I lost all of the trust in myself.
So how did you go from losing yourself to being able to be strong enough to get out and walk away from cult?
Well, walking away from the cult was sort of one of those things where everything blew up and I was like, this is so messed up. I just have to leave. So there wasn't a lot of trust so much in myself as much as self-preservation. And then once I got out, I realized I didn't trust myself to make any decisions for me. And I walked around for quite a few months, just sort of in this daze of not knowing what to do. And how I rebuilt that was a lot of therapy, start there, and then a lot of journaling, a lot of meditation, and really going back and looking at what had happened to me and really owning that story of myself. And once I started to own that story, I could sort of push away all the shame and blame and then realize, okay, I'm in it now. Like I'm in it. And so I can start trusting myself to make decisions. Now, it's not a process. It is a process. So it's not a short process. It's a long process. And I'm still working on it. I think I'll be working on it for the rest of my life. But now I know, though, that there's a piece of me inside that's solid, right? And that's where I found that glorious thing I talk about.
Right. So now you've written a book and you talk about being glorious. I love that word. I'm going to incorporate that into my new vocabulary. Everything's going to be glorious now. So what caused you to write the book then? What brought you into that new space where it's like, I'm going to write this down. I'm going to help people.
Well, I had been doing some speaking around my experience in the cult. And I just knew I needed to write a book because I had been doing so much journaling. And I thought, well, I'm going to have someone write this book for me. because I can use it to help people.
Hmm.
And I hired two different people, two men. Let's start there.
Hmm.
It didn't work out. Their voices were not mine.
Right.
And I got so frustrated that I said, forget it, I'll just do it myself. And over a period of 8 weeks, after a year and a half of trying with two different writers, over 8 weeks, I came up with these episodes in my life, many of them about NXIVM, some of them not about that. And I just went full into those experiences and how they had shaped my life and what I learned from them. And so it's a very vulnerable book. It exposes me to me, and
Uh,
then I gave it to the world to see. And in that moment of sharing it with the world, along with doing the documentaries like Seduced and some other shows, I realized that I, in owning my story,
mhm.
I could totally be in balance with myself. I could be integrated with myself because I owned it. So it didn't matter how anyone saw it, if anybody was judging it, because people do. But I had already done that. I already owned it. So you can judge it all you want because I own it. It's mine. And
You,
so that's how I came about writing the book.
you know what? Talk about this because this point, I've talked to a couple other people that have been in organizations or cults, and
Mm-hmm.
I find it absolutely fascinating that people will come out and talk about these things that normally, maybe always, people think are shameful, but they talk about them, and somehow it makes them better people, feel better, able to communicate better. How does that happen? I think we all have secrets. There are things that we've done we don't want to talk about, but talk about that for a second. How does that work?
Well, people always say it's so wild that you're so open and don't you feel vulnerable? But I'm
Mhm.
not sharing everything. I'm only sharing the pieces of myself that I think are going to help other people. And so um, I think in the beginning, being vulnerable feels kind of crazy. But once you do it,
Mhm.
once you actually embrace that, okay, I'm owning everything I did, then it becomes almost like a superpower, right? Because now
Mhm.
it's mine. Like only it's mine, and I get to view it the way I want to see it, right? I'm not letting other people um, uh, describe it for me. It's
Uh-huh.
me. I describe it for myself. I give it meaning. I don't let other people give it meaning.
So when
So
people
yeah.
hear your story about being in the cult, what are the responses, I guess, that you get? Do they blame you? Do they go, "Oh, I would never join a cult myself"?
Yeah.
What's the responses that you get from people?
So many different responses, but usually the first one is like, I don't understand. I don't understand how that could happen. I would never do something like that. And I love that question because then we can get into a conversation about how easy it is to give your power away.
Mhm.
You can give it away to anything, and it's very easy to get pulled into something that you believe is good. Like I didn't just wake up like one morning and go, oh, I'm going to join a cult.
Right.
I joined a movement. I joined an organization. I joined people who were very like-minded. So I joined something good, and it turned out to be bad.
Okay. So for you with Nexium, what was the draw? What was the thing that initially got you in? Because I think it was set up sort of as a multi-level marketing and sort of thing. Tell me what drew you in.
Well, it was as originally described to me, and what I joined was a self-help organization, a human
Okay.
potential organization that was going to help me become more of a balanced, happy human being. They had a mission that was it was a humanitarian mission, so I was very connected to that. And the multi-level marketing didn't really come in until you were recruiting people into the organization for classes. So it
Okay.
wasn't ever described to me as a multi-level, and it never really worked properly anyway. It was kind of
Yeah, I guess not.
no, yeah, obviously it was a disaster. But what I joined was this thing that was very helpful. The curriculum was very helpful to everyone, or they wouldn't have stayed in there.
Mhm. So, do you believe at any point the NXIVM, when they started, actually believed the part about helping people, or was that just a ruse to get people to join?
No, we all believed we were helping people because we actually were. So I know this sounds a little crazy, but if you just took the curriculum, the 16-day curriculum, you'd
Mhm.
walk away, go back to your life, and you would use a lot of those tools, and you would think it was a great, experience. It's when you got into the community like myself and became a coach when things started getting funky.
Gotcha.
So and that's why I recruited so many people, because I believed in the curriculum. It was helping me, it was helping other people. 15,000 people went through that uh, um, curriculum, and is at least 5 to 16 days,
Yeah.
and many people loved it.
So with if you start with one starts with a thing like a curriculum that's helpful and
Hmm.
it's going to make you better, it's going to solve a problem that you have in your life. How do you know if that's the end of it or if you're getting sucked into something like a cult? I mean, because I mean, everybody, right? We talk about, Tony Robbins, he sucks people in and they're in there, but he's not a cult. Um, what's the difference? How do you know when to get out?
So when the organization starts to have you change the way that you think, or it starts to exert control or punishment or power over you, then
Mhm.
you know you're in an organization that has cult like things going on. Does that make sense? So it's like, if you just take the curriculum and go along your way and they leave you alone and you're just going about your life, then you've just experienced something good. But if you join the community and you start to feel like, well, they're asking me to change my belief system and I'm feeling a little confused, and there seems to be, if I don't do it properly, then there might be some kind of punishment coming, then that's not a good thing.
Okay, the punishment thing, I get that
Hmm.
because then you've gone too far. But don't a lot of organizations, self help, and other things, they want you to change your life because you're messed up anyway. So it's like, I am open to change because what I'm doing now isn't working.
Correct. And so we were always looking at ourselves to be better people. But when you start to feel a little controlled,
Hmm.
that's where the issue is. And it's when they start to ask you to start to change the way that you think. Now, changing the way you think is not a bad thing as long as it resonates with you. But
Okay.
many of the things they asked us to change didn't always resonate. And when we would question it, here's a big one. Whenever you question something, you are the problem. So when I would question it, it was
Hmm.
always like, Kelly, you need to be looking at yourself and work on yourself. This isn't the issue. And so there's a lot of confusion around that. So you're thinking, well, I think I'm working on myself. I'm trying to work on myself,
Uh-huh.
but maybe I shouldn't be asking these questions because maybe I'm wrong. And so you start to distrust yourself there. You start to lose your own self, your intuition and the trust in yourself. And you have to be aware of these things. So I went into this cult or this organization not aware of what I'm talking about right now.
Hmm.
So I always tell people awareness is everything, and being connected to yourself is everything. And when you start to go against your own intuition and your own gut feeling, there is a problem
Okay.
always.
And at that point, what do you have to say to yourself? What do you have to do so you go, bam, wake up?
Yeah, it's like, okay, there's that feeling. Something's not right. Let me find out what's not right before I move forward.
Okay.
So you do a little investigating, you do some self-discovery, you look around, you really get some data on what's going on and decide, is this the right thing for me? Everybody else may be doing it. That's fine. And everybody else seems to be happy, but is it right for me? Because your body will tell you that it's not right. And that's what we've lost as a culture. We have lost that ability to trust ourselves and to lean into our intuition. We're a
Okay.
culture, we don't do that anymore very much.
Got you. So talk about unapologetically glorious. Tell what do you want people to learn from you, from your experience now?
So, what I discovered after all of the journey after the cult and getting myself back was that, we are made of God dust and glorious stardust.
Okay.
And that piece of us is always with us. And it is like a superpower. And it gives us all of these tools that we just have to reach in and grab out and choose at any moment. We can choose hope, we can choose joy, we can choose compassion, we can choose hope, kindness, wisdom, generosity. It's all in there. It's just a choice. So, in any moment, I always tell people, instead of stop, drop, and roll, it's
Mm-hmm.
stop, think, and respond, not react, but respond. And you can choose that, dig right into your glorious tool bag and choose any one of those things.
That's awesome.
compassion, empathy, hope, joy, anything. Every moment is a new choice point. We can choose at any moment, no matter what is happening, we can choose to be who we want to be.
Gotcha. No matter
Does
what
that
your
make
friends around you are saying or what you're doing, you can stop and think about it.
You can stop. That's the awareness. Stop and think and then respond. But when we respond, a lot of times we like to react out of fear or anger. But we
Mhm.
can stop for a second and say, I'm going to respond to this instead. And you can dig down into that glorious part of you that is always there, that glorious god dust and stardust, and grab something out that makes sense for you in that moment. That's
Yeah.
the good part, like hope,
Yep. I like
compassion.
what you said. It's the difference between responding and reacting is
Hmm.
huge because I
Hmm.
think, through our lives, through our days, we react to things. At least I do. Probably not a lot of people do. And it's like, you react because it makes life easy, right? And when I find that if you respond, you have to stop and think.
It's that awareness again.
Mhm.
The awareness to say, I'm going to take a moment to respond instead of react, because our reactions are usually from fear, right? And if we can respond, we can choose a reaction that comes from love, which is a very
Yeah.
positive thing. And you can turn a whole situation around, but you have to have that awareness, and you have to like be able to lean into your own intuition so that you are aware of yourself, and your
Gotcha.
intuition will always guide you in the right direction because you know who you want to be. We
Yes.
know who we want to be. We're not always that person, but we know who we'd like to be. And we can choose that at any time.
When I speak to Kelly Thiel as a friend, and I'm going like,
Hmm.
I want to hang around with Kelly because what? Because what does Kelly exude? What is it that makes Kelly super awesome these days? Go ahead
Well,
and
I
like,
have found a
yeah.
sense of humor that I didn't have before, and
Mhm.
sort of a joy to life that I didn't have before, and more of a presence. And that really has been part of my journey in learning to, I hate to use the love myself, but it's like be my own friend. Like
Mhm.
I like being around me because I can be funny and I can be joyful and I can just dance when I want to. I don't really care so much about what people think of me anymore. And that's so much about owning my story. When
Yeah.
you own your story, you drop all the shame and blame because it's yours. You already know the mistakes you made. Like
Yeah.
no one needs to tell you. I already know what they are. So go for it. Judge them all you want. I already own them, so is that's I think that would be that'd be it. Yeah.
That's it. I love talking with you here because it's like I'm listening. I'm like, man, I want Kelly to be my coach. It's like you've got these life experience. I guess that's the thing that you're bringing to everything. And I don't know how to summarize it. If you're talking to the world right now, you're looking in the camera and like, this is what I hope you get out of listening to me. What is that thing? What is the you go, this is my 60 seconds, 90 seconds. What do you want the
Hmm.
world to know and understand and be?
Ah, I think it's really understanding that we are born with this sacred gloriousness about ourselves, and it's inside us all the time. And as we grow up, we forget about it. And it's
Mhm.
just a matter of reaching in and remembering it. It's remembering how glorious we are, and we're always going to be glorious. It's a choice. It's always there. Just all you have to do is just reach in, grab it.
God, I love that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for being on the show. I want people to be able to get in touch with you. Let me look over here and see how we can do that. We've got awesomeness that you are on Instagram at the Kelly Teal,
Mhm.
and people can find you there. We can also find you on your website, and that should be easy enough for everybody, kellyteal.com. Just look that up. And I just want to thank you for being on here and like just letting me talk to you. Thank you so much. It's awesome.
Thank you. This was really great. Thank you.
All right. Everybody, keep in touch with Kelly. I'm going to leave that on the screen so you can write it down. Go to her website right now. And everybody else, we'll see you next time. Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you. Bye.